There we go. We are at time. Let's go ahead and get going. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I see we got another 20 people, which is exciting. Thank you all for. Oh, it's my buddy Rudy. Hey, Rudy. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody else too. Let me just go ahead and look at the names, which is always fun. Oh, this is awesome. Hi, Jessica. You were at the last session. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, this is great. Thank you so much, Mark and Linda and Laura and Kim and Jill and Heather. Thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go ahead and get started talking. We're going to do a little bit of coding. This is about you as the teacher writing code to be able to help you and your students with a programming language called AppScript. I got to say, one of the things I love about giving a session like this is that you don't have to install anything. You have Google. I am almost certain you have a Google account. Who doesn't? And AppScript is inside of your Google Suite. In fact, even this presentation I'm giving right now, if I click on Tools, there is a script editor, and that is how you go into a Google Slide, a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, any of those. You can go in to the script editor and start writing code that will modify the way that this behaves. I'm going to point out that you can also make plugins. You could be making software that you can give to others. You can make web apps that exist within the Google Suite. You can make some really powerful stuff inside of Google AppScript. And added bonus, if you've done much coding, it is very likely that you've tried out JavaScript. It's one of the big ones that are out there, and AppScript is, it's JavaScript with a little bit extra. So yeah, it's definitely worth it to try out. Thank you for joining us here. I'm going to go ahead and hit present so this goes full screen. I'm hoping, please let me know in the chat if you can't see, but I'm hoping this is all visible to everyone. Thank you for being here, Glenda. Oh, good. Thank you, Rudy. Okay, so I'm Steve. I'm here in beautiful Stockton, California, at the San Joaquin County Office of Education. I happen to be a part of STEM programs here at the County Office of Ed, led by Kirk Brown. It's the largest STEM program in the state because our superintendent is very committed to STEM education here, and I'm thrilled to be working with CodeStack on several projects, among them our CodeStack High School or CodeStack STEAM curriculum, so that students get a chance to code in class and learn skills. And right now it's being used in our juvenile hall or in juvenile hall. So those kids are getting the opportunities that come with being able to code. So it's an exciting program, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. Anyway, one of the things I'm pointing out here, the reason I have the slide, I should put my email on here. It's scallahan@sjcwe.net if you have any questions. But I wanted to point out kind of how this started. I got a chance to be a Google Innovator this year. So my Google project was trying to encourage teachers to code. And the idea behind it is that as you get a chance to code, there's some study, actually it was my thesis, shows that as teacher efficacy, teachers feeling comfortable with coding increases, students are able to achieve more. So you getting a chance to code and see how useful it is in your life helps out the kids. So we wanted to give you a tool that could be helpful to you to try out a little bit of coding. So here we go, nothing to install. It's already with the Google Suite. Let's get started. So I'm gonna go back, way back, and we're gonna talk about worksheets, which I know feels old hat, right? Like if we've been teaching a while virtually, like when's the last time that you held a worksheet? Well, you might remember, depending on how long ago you started teaching. I remember we used to make dittos when I first started teaching. And the idea behind the ditto was, it was actually an engineering marvel. I think that, old technology, there's this old saying that technology is anything that doesn't quite work yet. You tend to forget the stuff that was big for its time. Like I remember my mom would bake bread. And when you bake bread, it's not pre-sliced. So you get these sandwiches with giant stacks of bread, and you're like, "This is half bread." Well, that's why people say, "Oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread," right? Because the pre-slicing can be a nice thin sheet. So you forget that a worksheet increases student performance because you've got the questions and you're kind of guiding the student through the assignment. It's better than the old, like, here's a book, copy the question, blah, blah, blah. I remember I would get more work back when I give students a worksheet than when I just said, do the work out of the book. Well, this is not the time of worksheets. This is the time of HyperDocs. Students use linked Google Docs. It could be a Microsoft document too, but generally a Google Doc that has links to resources and kind of guides the student through the activity that they're going to do. It's like a worksheet come alive, right? It's like a web page, sort of, right? Because you can click on links that exists within your assignment. And so it's powerful, it's useful. Now, right here, what I've done is I have, it's painfully simple, overly simple. But it's just a HyperDoc about apples. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to pop up, make a copy here. So because my Google slide, the slide itself is a HyperDoc, right? It has links to stuff, it's interactive. Well, I'm able to go here. I have my HyperDoc. Click on harvest time menu, blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, so let's talk about that. I want to point out that when I have a HyperDoc, I can have students click on things, they fill out the document, it's interactive. Okay, here I have a link, here I have a link. We can kind of step up from that. And by the way, I do want to point out, the HyperDocs people, and HyperDocs is, it's a brand name, but it's also, a style of teaching. Some of the best tips that they say for using HyperDocs, which I cannot recommend too highly: use bright colors. You want to have images within your HyperDocument for visual interest. You want to have an easy flow of design. Think just like when you used to make worksheets, you wanted it to be so that students could follow what you were saying and they could progress through the assignment. And of course, and this is the hyper part, like a hyperlink. The HyperDoc should have links to take students to resources. So whereas before you had a worksheet and you'd say, okay, well, look at this page in the book. Well, you were limited by the textbook the kids were going to have at home. HyperDoc, I could be sending kids to the Library of Congress, Encyclopedia Britannica, resources from NASA and Google, and just so many things. So we're able to take students to the world, and that's powerful. Now, I kind of want to think a little bit like an engineer. This is the CodeStack conference. We're all talking about software. When I go to a web page, the way the web page works, like the Google web page here, is that it's like a path or a launch pad. I go to that place, and then the website takes me to another place. That's part of the design. Now, I don't know if you all have heard about something called the SAMR model. It's by Dr. Ruben Fuentealba, and what he says is that we can think about the way that we create lessons and the way that we use technology within lessons using this SAMR model. Now, there's substitution and augmentation. That's one way of implementing technology in my classroom. Like, if I take a worksheet, right? I happen to have some worksheets. I still have my old binders full of assignments from more than a decade ago that I would assign. I could take a picture of that and just send kids the PDF, and then they'd print it out and fill it out and send it back. Now that's a substitution, right? A digital file replaces a physical paper. That's not great, Not that all substitutions are bad. I don't mean to say that, but life shouldn't just be worksheets. That's not great. That's not a happy. That's not going to make an engaged student. What we want to do is we want to push some of our assignments up to this transformational level. We want to redefine what's possible with an assignment. And HyperDocs is a step along that path. It is. I can say, you know what, kids, I want you to see this video, and I can put the video into the HyperDoc. I want you to respond with this survey, and we can use something like a Google form so that things become interactive. We can use these hyperdocuments. We can make it so that students are getting a more interactive and more engaging experience. By the way, I'm hoping I'm saying this right. Mose. I'm going to say Mose, and I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. But thank you for telling me. Thank you so much for being here at this webinar. I appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions. So what we want to do is we want to push beyond just the worksheet, beyond a PDF, to allow students to have a new experience. Not that we don't ever have just simple substitutions. I can give students a question in a Google Classroom, and that's just fine for, say, a quick assessment, an exit ticket. But we don't want to stay here. We want to be able to have these better lessons. Okay, and towards that, I want to talk about app design. So Google is a website. It takes you from Google to other places. But Facebook, excuse me, Facebook is an app. And when I see something in Facebook, it doesn't take me to somewhere else. Facebook doesn't ever want me to leave Facebook. Facebook wants me to forever keep scrolling. Happy, sad, whatever, just keep scrolling. And not to say that Facebook is the best thing in the world. What I do want to say is it's engaging. It does keep people participating with it. And that's a matter of user interface. In the same way that the worksheet was able to keep my students more engaged than a piece of binder paper in a book. And certainly in the same way that HyperDoc is able to keep kids more engaged than the old worksheet, we can step it up from there. We can make a better user experience for our students. All right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of step it up by using some app script to code, add code into our HyperDoc. All right. So some places you'll notice I refer to this as a workbook, or I say here in this title that I'm putting HyperDocs in a hyperdrive. But the idea is that we're going to take the concept of a HyperDoc and then we're going to add code into it to increase the usability. All right, so here is our example back here. Whereas before we showed, oh, I can click on links and go to a link. We've coded this right here so that I've added an extra menu item. So if I click on assignment help, notice this instruction where it was a link before, it says click on harvest time menu option for help. Okay, well, let's see. It's going to display. Okay, by the way, notice how it's asking, I think this is showing up to you guys. I'm not sure if it's showing up, but it's asking me to give it permission to run. Kind of like when you install anything on your phone or whatnot, it's going to ask for permission. So now I'm going to say display. And up pops that harvest data. There we go. So whereas before, it would have sent me to a PDF from, by the way, I took this from the UC Gardeners, UC Master Gardeners. They're a great resource as far as gardening and hobby farming. Anyway, so I took this resource and notice how it now is inside of the document. The student never actually leaves the document. They stay engaged. They stay interacting with this one document. They find their information. They can go back in and work. Same here. It says, was the history of the apple? And Rudy, thank you for asking, Rudy. Yes, you can. You can do this in a Google slide. I actually have a lesson that I was just working on. We'll get to it. I don't know if you noticed in the website that I sent everyone. There's a whole bunch of videos that I've already put there walking you through the steps of coding in AppScript. So right now I'm just doing the introduction to AppScript, but that resource is there, and you can go through at your leisure. I think it's maybe now about 35, 40 minutes, just walking through different samples of code. And this is an ongoing project, so it'll be hours there that you can sit and work with it. But right now we're just doing a quick introduction. So here, whereas before it might have been a link taking us to the Encyclopedia Britannica, I can say Encyclopedia article, and it's showing up. It's taking a second. The internet's being a little bit slow, but it's okay. Oh, here we go. Encyclopedia article is inside the document. So I'm designing the interface that I want for my students. All right. So right here, I'm gonna go ahead and just give it to you directly. We have a link. And what that is it's just how to do Hello World inside of a Google Doc. What I'm gonna do, like, we're here, we're all here together. I'm just gonna walk you guys through it. So I'm gonna go to new tab, docs.google.com, and we're just gonna open up a blank document. All right. Now, the reason it's called a Hello World, there's some history going back to the C programming language in Unix and all, but commonly for new programmers, the first program that they ever write is called Hello World. So we're just gonna get something to be able to say Hello World. And we're gonna write it inside of our Google Doc. So I'm gonna go to Tools and Script Editor. Notice it's opening up a brand new tab. And I've got a code editor right here, which is nice. It's designed right there for you. I'm going to point out in our CodeStack curriculum, we've been creating this interactivity into the curriculum so that the doc is able to interact with the kids. And well, anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so I'm saving this file. I'm also going to point out, if you go to script.google.com, you'll notice there's, just like when you go to docs.google.com, you see all of your old docs. There's kind of a file browser there that'll show up. All right, so we've made our program. Notice it starts out with this function called myFunction. And if I hit that play button, it runs that function. But of course, we haven't written any code in there. So we need to tell it what we want it to do. So I'm going to say, one second there. All right, so we can type in our code, our commands right there. I'm going to give you one more tool, kind of like a cheat sheet that I spent some time writing, which I think will help, especially if people are newer to this. I'm going to put it right into the chat. There's also a link to it on our website, but it's called Teacher Blocks. Put it right here. Okay, so hopefully that just showed up to everybody. Okay. It's very bright. My design style for this was very bright. Anyway, so what you'll notice is it looks a lot like Scratch, the programming language for kids. It's based off of Blockly, and anyone who was at my earlier session, I mentioned how MakeCode is based off of Blockly. Well, I use the Blockly library to make this. So very similar skill set. that students would use for this as you would be using. So you're getting that practice. Anyway, as I click, I have commands that I can choose. Notice I have a hello world here. Before I even do any, well, yeah, I'll just do a little bit of coding. I'm going to set the background color and choose a color here. I'm going to go with blue. Okay, so let's kind of walk through what this this function here says. So my function. Oh, hey, that was the function we start with in AppScript. I want to input text, hello world. I also set the background color to blue. All right, I also have an on-open function here, but I don't really have anything I want to happen as soon as I open the document. So all I'm going to do is tell it, generate the JavaScript. All right, so right here, I have my app script. So document app, it's going to get my active document. It's going to get the body of the document, and it's going to edit that and add on hello world. And then what we also do is this is a color code. Anyone who's written a little bit of web development will recognize that hexadecimal code right there. Okay, so I'm going to copy what I've made here. I'm just going to paste it right in. All right, so document app, get active document, get body, edit as text, and append text. I said hello world. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and save. And if I hit this run button, it's going to run the myfunction function. I can also go up here and choose what function I want to run. Of course, there's really nothing there. But anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to tell it to run. When I do that, it's going to ask me permission. I'm not sure if you guys can see the permission request. I think it doesn't really show up when I share the window. No, I think it does. Oh, I'm going to tell it I want to run as my account. All right. Now, when I go back, oh, there we go. It says hello world. Because that code ran, I can change what I want it to do. Remember again, we told it, hey, document. We have our active document. We want to get the body of the document, and I'm going to edit and append hello world. Well, this time I'm going to say, thanks for attending CSC. Okay. And it's going to throw that in, but I'm going to change my color code. By the way, not that's really important, but I do want to point out color codes. It's red, 2 numbers representing red, and then green, and then blue. So you know what? For the fun of it, I'm going to make it kind of pink. We had light blue before. That's the color code for pink. Don't worry about it. That's not really that important. I'm just going to go ahead and run the program again. Let's see what happens. Go ahead and click on the document. Oh, there we go. So we've appended to the end of what we had there. Thanks for attending CSC. And I said pink. That looks, I'm gonna be honest, I think that's more of a salmon color. A little bit off there, but well, it's pinkish. All right, so we had an earlier question just about, can this be done in Google Slides, which makes sense, right? Like slides is we use all the time. So let's try it out. I actually have a tool that I was making here. I'm gonna have the video uploaded talking all about it before the end of the day, but this is a tool that I made. It's a whiteboard tool. So the idea behind it, it's just a simple, it's not that I'm saying this is a great whiteboard. It's more that I'm just showing how we can use AppScript. So I'm gonna delete. Is it shared to? It's shared to my Teachers College account. I'm gonna remove that. Save. All right, so I have my slide, but I'm going to go to Tools and Script Editor. You notice I have a little bit of code, not a ton. Whereas before we had an empty on open, this time we have on open, but we've put code into it. So var my UI, so I'm getting the user interface, and I'm adding a menu, which is called Workbook Menu. And I'm adding an item called Add Pages, and it's going to run this my function. So every time I click that menu item, it's going to run. All right, and then here's my function. And what it's going to do is it's going to pop up a prompt. You know, like when you click something, and here's like, what do you think? So I'm going to pop up a prompt, and it's going to say, add an email. You know what? I was about to share it to my buddy Rudy, who's here, but I'm like, I don't know if he wants me to put his email in. It's going out on the internet. Okay, anyway, so I also have some code here to determine if I press OK, this code runs. Otherwise, I don't want anything to run in the other cases. Okay. And what does these few lines of code do that run if I hit OK? Well, one, I append a slide. So I put a new slide at the end. Then I'm going to add that email as an editor. And then I'm going to go, you know what, that last slide, I want you to. Okay, I appreciate, thanks for the feedback, Rudy. And everyone else, please feel free to, you know, I realize this is kind of like a fishbowl is what it kind of is like, but please feel free to ask me questions or say, oh, could you repeat that? I'm looking at the chat. I'm glad to respond to the chat. So Rudy says he wants the code. Rudy, it's going to be on my YouTube channel. I know you're a subscriber. Thank you. I'm going to have it online by the end of the day. Anyway, so here we have this code. What's going to happen is that it's going to add a text box with that person's name or with that person's email on a new slide. So this is what's going to run. I'm going to go back here. And let's try it out. So Workbook Menu, remember we made that menu. I'm going to click on the item, Add Pages. Okay, so I'm going to put in an email. I'm just going to go with, okay, so same one that I had before because it's my other email address. Add that. And you know what, I'll add the current one, which seems unnecessary, but it'll at least still make another slide. By the way, that's scalon@sjcwe.net. If you guys have any questions about the curriculum, about coding, please email me. I'm always glad to answer and help. I'm going to hit OK. Okay, notice for each one, it added in a new slide. It put the name of the person who's supposed to edit that one. So we have this class document that we're working on. And oh, there we go. Whoever I add in can start to share. If anyone wants to put their email in the chat, I'm glad to just add them in. They'll get it'll share to them and they can start working on it. Anyway, the whole point is I can change the way that the Google Suite works by adding in this code. A key thing about it is that it's powerful and it's server-side code. So when you write a web page, the web page always, it downloads, it runs on your computer, but it only has access to what's there, like in the sandbox. This is running server-side, so it has access to your Google Suite. So you have all that power and functionality that we all have grown accustomed to over the last 10 years or so, where I'm able to access data from other users, where I'm able to share things easily, like all that power with essentially writing JavaScript. Thank you, Kaylee. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, run this, add pages. I'm going to put Kaylee's email in there. Notice that it made a new slide for Kaylee, and that should have just shown up. Thank you so much, Jessica. All right. So in this way, it's a tool in which I can have a group of people working with me. Thanks, Rudy. And I'm sharing out to them, and we can all be participating. Now, I don't mean to say that this is the only tool that we have for that. Jamboard is an excellent tool for it. If you're oh, I don't mean to do that the normal way. I mean to try it our way. So here we go. All right. So the key here is that it's our tool now. We can change it the way we want. If I were, continuing to work on this, maybe I'd say, you know what? Every time that I add someone into this, I want to change the color of that slide so that you can see whose slide is what. Maybe I want to have it to add in instructions. Notice because it's been shared out, people are starting to be able to log in and use it. All right, let's go back to our presentation. Hi, escape. All right, so I did want to give a little bit of time for people to be able to just try out the tool. Depending on how comfortable you are with AppScript, please go ahead, open up your own doc and write a little bit of code. Take the code that you've seen from me and paste it in. Or if you're newer to coding, I really want to impress upon you, feel free to try out this little tool that I wrote, the teacher blocks. All you have to do is drag over commands. Oh, hey, you know what? Maybe I want to just clear the document. Generate the JavaScript. I copy. I go back to that document, right? Here's my code. I'm going to paste that in. Run it. Oh, sorry, I should have saved. Save and run it. And the document's empty. So try it out at your level. If you feel like you have been doing, like I maybe there's some of my colleagues from CodeStack here, they do not really need to try out blocks. You'll notice that I put a whole lot of videos on the website resource. Let me give that to you again. So here, a little bit of what I was talking about. Here's some example activities for you to try. Here's a link to that Teacher Blocks website. And then here I'm taking you through, well, here's the Hello World, but this is taking you through the creation of a Popsicle Sticks app. So what it's doing, oh yeah, sure. Let me send you a link to Teacher Blocks. It's bit.ly/Teacher Blocks. There we go. And by the way, I'm going to point out that is it's not that it's temporary, but that it's in works. So you're seeing like not even beta version of the tool, but with time I intend to add in more functionality to it. But right now it's kind of like it's training wheels. So just get started trying it out, and then after you use it some, then you can start using the AppScript yourself natively to write it like right into there. But for the time being, what it does is it, oh yeah, sure. Copy link. Oh, sorry, I said sure, and that was Rudy. Rudy asked, am I able to share the website that I'm showing? Here you go. That's the website. I'm going to point out it's one part of, we have 3 sessions that I'm doing today. One is on AppScript. I mean, obviously this one. Earlier today, I did one on Minecraft education. So the resources are there. And then I've got one on STEAM and coding of music a little bit later today. So, please come back. Not that we're done. Anyway, please go ahead. I'm here to answer questions as you're trying this out. And I think I'll show you one more after you get a little bit of time to try it out. We've looked at how I can code in a Google Doc. We've looked at how we can code in a Google Slide. We're going to try out a little bit of coding in a Google Sheet in a minute, but I want you to have a little bit of time to try out doing a little bit of app script coding yourself. I'm seeing a question. Okay, well, there's okay. Can't see what I'm posting. So I'm putting it into, I'm putting it into the chat. So if you're on Zoom, if you scroll at the bottom, there should be a chat button, and I'm putting all the links there into the chat. If you only see the Q&A, feel free to if you want to post a question in the Q&A, I'm glad to put a link into that as well. Oh no! Okay, I see what's going on here. I'm sorry. That was my error. Let me fix that. That went to panelists, not to everybody. Thank you for letting me know. Copy link. Here we go. So there's the link to, hoping that showed up to everybody. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Sorry, I hadn't realized that wasn't going to everybody. So there is the link to the website resource. Let me give you the link to the teacher blocks. It's bit.ly/teacher blocks. I think that's all of our links. I don't think there are any others. Thank you for letting me know. Good, good, good. I'm glad. Right now, we're just trying out using the teacher blocks. Before I leave, I'm going to show you just a quick example of how we can use it in Google Sheets. But yeah. Okay, I see a question from Rudy. I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud. So he says he's trying out a paragraph on Google Slides. He wants to have a pop-up that comes when you click on a sentence. Is that possible? That's a good question. So, not easily. I've talked to a mentor of mine, and he says there's a way to be able to like paste an image over things and make that happen. Not simple. However, because like I said with this, you're stuck with making your interface be within the menu. However, when we use Google Sheets, we can kind of make our own interface. So I know I promised I'm just going to really quickly show it to you because we're down to like 11 minutes. We don't have much time. So I'm just going to show you how we can do a little bit of coding inside of a Google Sheet real quick. I'm not going to use up the rest of the time. I'm going to give you a little bit more time to write, to try to test it out. Okay, sheets.google.com, and I'm going to hit blank. Okay, got a brand new sheet. Let's say 1, 2, 3. So I've got some data. I'm sorry to hear that, Kaylee. Yeah, Google Sheets, it's a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are this amazing technological advancement. They can be boring and frustrating. I completely agree. So I'm going to go to Tools and Script Editor. Okay, so I'm going to say interface example is this. Just taking a second to come up. I'm going to go ahead and start typing. You'll save. Okay, so spreadsheet app. I'm going to point out when I'm coding inside of a Google Doc, it's a document app. When I'm coding inside of a presentation. Anyway, it's a little bit different each time. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, no, I know this year is forced a lot of adjustment and yeah, but I appreciate you sharing that. And I see Kaylee, you shared that you got a little bit of tech support there at home to help out, and that's great. I'm glad to hear that. So I'm going to say spreadsheet app. Notice it does some auto completion for me, which is helpful. So I'm going to say, you know what? I want to get the active sheet, the current sheet that's open. And then get active cell. I want the cell that I've selected. Okay, so now I've created this variable called number, and I'm going to tell it to do something. So I could set the font size to something. Why not? That's a silly start. I'm going to set the font size to 50. Again, not that that's a really useful thing to do, but I just want to show how we can make an interface easily. All right. So I've saved this. Remember, anytime that I save something, or when I first run it, it's going to ask me for permission. So it pops up review permissions, and I'm going to say, yes, you can run this. And I'm going to allow. All right. So now when I go back here, notice there's nothing in the menu because I didn't write any code adding this to the menu. What I am going to do, however, is I can say insert a drawing. And call font change. There we go. Save and close. Okay, so I can add a drawing right into my spreadsheet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign a script to it. And we had written that my function. So whenever I click on it, it's going to run my function. So let's hope I don't have any bugs in my code. I'm going to try it out. Click. Well, here, I didn't have anything selected. Let's select this one. Font change. Ooh, we get a big number. Well, usually when you say big number, you mean it's like 1,000 or 1,000,000. This is just large size number. So in answer, I realize this is a very long answer to your question, Rudy. I can't put the interactive piece into my Google Doc easily, but I can build interface within a Google Sheet. So I can have lots of information, add in buttons, make it really interactive. so students can interact with it, which I know you work in STEM. How cool to be able to, yeah, sure. Glad to show that. How cool to be able to give kids an assignment remotely, and you can put in instructions for what they're doing, and they can put in the data, and then you create an interface where they press buttons and it's giving feedback, and all of that is doable right inside of your Google Sheet. So we're in the last 5 minutes. Please ask any question, and thank you so much, Louise and Kaylee and Rudy, for all the feedback, for your questions. I know we got a lot of other people here. If anyone else has a question, I'm more than glad to answer. Thank you, Linda. So SJCOE STEM Programs is posting on our Twitter and on our Facebook new lessons weekly, mini lessons. We call it Fast App Script for Teachers, which the acronym is FAST, that we're putting out there. You can just go to and watch it, and try out, and practice, and learn how to make new tools for your students. So please go ahead, like our Facebook page, and subscribe to our Twitter. It's SJCOE STEM Programs. Ooh, I did not answer that. VBA. I don't know. Sorry, I don't think so. Juan, in answer to your question, I don't think so. Rudy, you said spreadsheet app, document app. I want to say for slides, I want to say it's slides app. I don't think it's it's either presentation app or slides app. You know what? Let me bring it up because we're working on it. Let's see if I see it. Oh, slides app. Yeah, it's slides app. It's the way you refer to it. Okay, I'm getting the notice that I've only got 3 minutes remaining. See, is there anything I left off? I want to make sure I mention. Not really, just a big old thanks. There's more resources at sjcoestem.net. We're gonna be putting a bunch of the videos there. Please go ahead, follow us. We're gonna be building this interactivity into the CodeStack STEAM curriculum, so it'll be super powerful and useful for students. And stay in touch. Thank you so much.